Hello, everyone. My name is Oskar, and I run the leading fashion e-commerce company in Russia, or it runs me. Sometimes I'm not sure. But as everyone asked, who here has used KupiVIP.ru? Please keep both your hands down or check your email. Oh, amazing, amazing. So I thought that our customers are in fact Russian women. That's our focus. And when Marco asked me to speak today, I said, Marco, what do you want me to speak about? And he said, just say everything you learned in the last 5 years in 10 minutes. So I asked him to reduce the time to 3 minutes, and that was the first. And then and he said it should be a NOAH exclusive. It should be something I have never said before. So I said, okay, NOAH exclusive. Who is the audience at NOAH? It's investors, investment banks, and entrepreneurs. And so I thought, what is the common topic around KupiVIP that is interesting to all these three groups? And the first thing that came to mind was, again, Russian women. But Marco specifically asked me not to talk about that, so I'm sorry about that. So the other things that we all like are success stories, and sometimes even more than success stories, we like failure stories, if they are not ours. So I was thinking, and I decided to give you an overview of my personal roller coaster the last 5 years, the success stories and the failure stories I have experienced, and the learnings that go along. And my main message to you is kind of, in Russia, it's not at all different to build a big company than anywhere else. My co-founder and I, we have been sitting in one room for 5 years, and the topics we discussed 24 hours a day are not at all different than what you would discuss building a company anywhere else. There was not one topic that was different. So we started in 2007 when we decided to actually move to Russia because we grew up in Germany and we lived in the US. But at some point, I was 100% convinced that Russia is the place where I was the happiest in my life. So it was a happiness choice. And I moved to Russia having no idea what to do. So I came to Russia and I started searching. I was searching for half a year. I was also consulting in the same time at BCG, but I was basically searching for what to do. And so the first thing I did, I asked my dad for advice. I said, Dad, what should I do? And he's like, Oskar, just find a way to satisfy Russian women and you will be extremely successful, no matter what it is. So first I thought it's a stupid advice, but then I started looking into it, and the only thing I knew well was e-commerce, because I started my first e-commerce company in Germany in 2000. When I returned from the US, I did a bodybuilding.com for Germany, and then I did another e-commerce company in Germany. So I knew e-commerce, and I started looking at the internet in Russia, and in 2007, what I saw was the following. Russia had 24 million internet users, out of which 3 million have bought something online, and the entire online fashion e-commerce market was $10 million. So I knew that in Germany, the fashion was the biggest part of e-commerce. And not many people know that in the US, fashion e-commerce this year is 45 billion versus 44 billion all consumer electronics, mobile, and computers. So fashion is the single biggest e-commerce category in the US and Germany. So I looked at what would happen the next 5 years, and this is the exercise I did in 2007. It was clear that the internet users would go from 24 million to something between 50 and 90 million because of the internet penetration and the population of Russia. And it was clear that the internet buyers eventually would be 70–80% of all internet users buy online at some point. And I was also 100% convinced that fashion would become the single biggest category in e-commerce in Russia. So that was my analysis, and if you look today, we are in 2012, there's a revolution that happened. We went from 24 million, in 5 years we went to 62 million. From 3 million buyers to 17 million buyers. And the fashion e-commerce market grew from 10 million to 1.5 billion in 2012. So what I learned is what lags the most grows the fastest. The behavior is very much the same. And what is even more amazing, and a lot of people don't know that about Russia, because we called our company KupiVIP, which is focused on quality products. And quality products are purchased by people who are doing well. So it's a middle class. It's people who make $1,000 or more net income per month. And in 2007, there were 2 million people in Russia that made $1,000 or more income per month. And in 2012, this year, it is 20 million people. So there's a tenfold growth of the Russian middle class that is actively upgrading their consumer behavior. And this is something not really communicated in the Western media. I'm not sure there's another country in the world that has grown the middle class tenfold over the last 5 years. So that is what triggered kind of mechanically my wish to do fashion e-commerce, but in reality the final trigger was some passion. I had a strong feeling that I should be the guy who makes brands more affordable to Russian women. I had this very strong urge to start this company, and I left BCG on my birthday and I created KupiVIP on the 14th of May in 2008. So that was a very happy time, and so I wanted to tell you about the roller coaster, so I will also tell you about the downtime. So the first thing I did is I went to France, to Paris, to meet Jacques-Antoine, who is the founder of One Privé. And they happened by complete coincidence to be doing exactly the same thing, just in France. And I asked Jacques-Antoine, give me one advice. I created this company, and he was very, very nice to meet me. And he said, Oskar, the advice is the following. To build a good e-commerce company takes 10 years. So I was thinking to myself, no way, I do it in 2. So now I'm 5 years in, and I hope I make it in the remaining 5. But that was some powerful advice. It takes 10 years to build a good e-commerce company. So I went back to Russia, I started, and that was the happiest time of my life. So we were working 200 days non-stop. We went live as the first company. We were competing with 3 teams to go live. We went live first. The second was 4 months later. The business model started working, and it was amazing. We actually found the proof of business model very early, because what happened was that we were acquiring members who would register at KupiVIP for €0.50, and these members would start spending €3 to €4 a month, every single month. So we knew that with our marketing contribution, we were break even within 4 or 5 months and then starting to make money. So we found the proof of concept very early. I knew we are onto something. So we went for investment, and we were very successful. Very quickly we got a term sheet, and we signed the investment. End of 2008, and unfortunately what happened then is, you all remember the RIP presentation by Sequoia, and the crisis hit, and Russia was the worst hit by the crisis in the world. So Russian stock index was down 90%. And we already had a shareholder agreement signed with the investor, and I was running out of money. I had 0 in the bank. And then I received a call basically asking me for a meeting, which was weird, and then I went there, and basically the message was, we will not wire the money. And there was no way for me to force them to do it. It was just the round broke, and it broke at the point, it was end of January 2009, where I had not only 0 in the bank, I actually owned €100,000 to Odnaklasniki of Vitaly, which we just presented, and I owned €100,000 to suppliers. So I was sitting there, I had a broken round, I had no money, and I lost the company. I mean, at this point, some of my investors starting to protect their investment, and they started calling around who wants KupiVIP cheap and trying to get at least their money back. So it was a liquidation case. I was sitting there, and then I went for like 5 or 6 hour walk, and this is like the walk you don't want to do because you're not really in the real world, you're like in your brain. And I said, what do I need to do? I need to do 3 things. First, I need to find money. The second thing, I need to grow, because if I don't grow, I have no chance of successfully raising money. And the third thing, I need actually brands, because my mission was to help brands in Russia. And there was the crisis. It was a massive wave in Russia. And then amazing things started happening, because everybody was affected. So I just tell you one story. I took the top 5 fashion players in Russia, and I was writing to their emails like info@BSN Group and info@Mercury Group, CEO@BSN Group, just cold mailing them. And all of a sudden I get this email, and there's please come for a meeting on Friday. So I come to the meeting, and there's this CEO, CFO, COO, and the brand managers of the holding asking me what I can do for them. So that was a very powerful thing because I understood the crisis is the best time for new businesses. It's an eye-opener. All the existing fashion incumbents started speaking to us, and we had a streak of 365 days where we signed up 2 suppliers every single day. So we went from 0 to 700 suppliers within 2009. And we had 1,500 brands working with us by the end of 2009. And that is only possible during crisis. There was no other scenario we could have achieved that. So on the growing side, Vitaly and his team from Underclassniki, they had problems as well to get revenue. So they saw the numbers of €4 per member per month, and they said, let's do a revenue share. So they gave me a revenue share, and we grew from 50,000 members to about 1 million members within 6 months. And that was during the time where I had to raise money. So when I started in January 2009, we had $50,000 of revenue per month. So I started speaking to investors, and by the time we finished the round, we had $2.5 million per month revenue. So I was not even sure if I should actually close the round or maybe redo it, but that was massive growth, and that was decisive. It was a decisive moment of the KupiVIP, and life became good again. We raised $5 million. Everything was good. We started to see multi-million-dollar revenues, and the brands were there. The Russian women wanted to buy brands with discount. We were building the operational side, and then competition started. So because it was so good, all of a sudden we had 32 companies doing exactly the same. So it is like 32 companies looking exactly the same, doing exactly the same, going to the same suppliers. It's a hyper competition. So people were paying headhunters €50,000 for every manager they would pull out of KupiVIP. There's a lot of things that happen that are really, I mean, I did another 200 days streak with no weekends, and I said, I will focus on 10 years horizon. That was my conclusion. And I remember the words of Jacques-Antoine, and I had the feeling that all the other 31 players, they had a 2-year horizon. And actually, that's what happened. So if you look at today, 3 years later, out of the 32 players, there's only 1 player left. So KupiVIP today has a market share of 85%, and we are the only ones who successfully implemented the business model, and the only difference being us having a 10-year view versus everybody else with a 2-year view. And that was my only single advantage that I believe I had during this time. So today we have a full-blown e-commerce. We take a €250 million in orders. We have a 20,000 square meter warehouse, our own delivery that we deliver to 320 cities in Russia ourselves. We actually deliver 85% of the packages ourselves. We have a massive call center. We are building a real e-commerce company for Russia, and I agree it really takes 10 years, and it will take us much more to open 600 cities for delivery, and we will continue building the company like that. But what really makes me happy is kind of my last town hall meeting in my company. I invited all employees to tell them our 5-year strategy. It was approximately like this. So we have 1,300 employees now. And we are positioned in a way that I am so confident about the next 5 years in terms of what we want to achieve. So basically, I'm looking forward to the stories of the next 5 years. I hope one of the stories will be IPO. I hope there will be other stories to share with you in 5 years when Marco invites me again. And so that's it. That's all I wanted to say. So thank you very much for your attention.